What's up, you guys? I'm glad a lot of you enjoyed my last video on how to astral project, basically on how to self-initiate a conscious out-of-body experience. And so the next stage you got to think about when it comes to astral projection is, what are you going to do once you finally get out of body? Because I've heard a lot of stories, and maybe you've experienced this too, where people have tried projecting for months or even years. And then when it finally happens and they separate from their bodies, after like a second or two, bam, they snap right back into it without any warning. Possibly because they got too excited or too scared once they got out, or they thought about their physical body, which could bring you back or whatever. But for the most part, once you're able to complete the separation phase successfully and you're able to maintain your awareness at least to some degree, then my advice to you is this: you gotta have some sort of plan to keep things rolling. You know what I'm saying? And this will increase both the quality of the experience and the likelihood of it occurring. Because I find a lot of people saying that they've had an OBE, even on accident, but then they're totally unprepared once they're out. And it sucks because, they're not taking advantage of this amazing opportunity once it happens. Because here's the thing, folks, when it comes to out of body exploration, dude, the possibilities are literally infinite. Infinite. And that the astral planes are so vast that no matter how experienced you are, there's still so much for us to learn and to explore, which is why it can be so freaking exciting every time you do it. Because sometimes you'll have no idea exactly where you'll end up. For instance, you could project into this realm on this earth plane, which is important if you're looking for vertical information and you're trying to prove that there's some sort of objectivity to all this. But there are other times when we end up in what seems like a parallel dimension, like a counterpart to Earth, a duplicate, where things are very similar to what's here, yet there are slight differences or anomalies that you'll notice. And there are other times when we end up in places only God knows where, and this has happened to me many, many times, where literally it seemed like I was out of this physical world, which has been a challenge for me to try to explain these experiences to people because of the limitations of our 3D language. But alright, let's get into it. Okay, so now I want to share with you a list of things, of activities that you definitely gotta try. Of course, you don't have to, you have a choice. But man, some of these can vary from being really interesting to straight up fun, or to even being completely profound and life changing. And it's common to hear astral travelers say, and I can confirm this, that when you're out of body, many times things just seem more real, like the colors, the textures of things, the details, the sounds, because your senses are suddenly heightened in this state. It's dope. But I often get the question from people, and many times a criticism, of why should we even be doing this in the first place? Because to them, astral projection is just a cheap substitute for the quote unquote real thing. The real thing being, of course, their version of God, their religion, and that it's not about having a bunch of fun exploring other dimensions, according to them. Which is silly in my opinion. Of course, our astral experiences don't have to be all fun and games, but when you think about it, part of this life, even here, is fun and games, and isn't always about being serious all the time, you guys. So some peeps gotta loosen up and learn to have some fun once in a while, right? But yes, there are some very noble pursuits that you can have during your astral explorations that I highly encourage, by the way, like finding the truth about life after death, meeting your spirit guide, or healing yourself and other people, visiting the Akashic record, or even experiencing our interconnectedness with all things, etc. In fact, I even made an entire video on that subject that you can check out called The Benefits of Astral Projection. But for this video, I just want to start off with some basics first, you guys. Nothing too heavy just yet, like trying to see your past lives, which can be very emotional and traumatic for some people, or contacting deceased loved ones. Just beginner stuff for now, okay? So you can get a feel of what it's like once it happens and allow you to adapt and adjust to these new realities. But keep in mind though, a lot of what you might experience will be based on what you're vibrating and what your beliefs are. So if you think doing such and such thing is impossible, guess what? Don't be surprised if initially you get what you believe. Does that make sense? So your imagination is the limit. Coolio? Alrighty, things you must do when astral projecting. Number one, look into a mirror. Yep, this is a must, dude. Once you get out of body, go to the nearest mirror and look at yourself and see what happens. And it's interesting because people have seen different things when doing it. For instance, someone said that when they stared into a mirror, they saw themselves, but it was blurry, or they saw a different face, or they were wearing a hat that for sure they weren't wearing when they went to bed. And I remember the first time I looked into a mirror, it was so surreal, or should I say real, because my vision was super clear and vivid, and I was fully conscious, like how I'm fully awake right now. And my reflection was of me, exactly how I went to bed that night. So nothing seemed off at all. My hair was messy. I had the same haircut. I had no shirt on as usual. Stinking hot here in the Philippines. I mean, I looked exactly the same. The continuity was there, and it was so real. Like on several occasions, I'm not even sure, even when I'm out of body, until I put my hand through some solid object. Which leads me to number two. Like with what I just mentioned, do just that. Try putting your hand and your arm through a wall or through the ground. And I remember one of my early out of body experiences, I put my hand through a wall, and the sensation was so interesting. It felt like when you put your arm underwater and you move it around, where there's that slight wave of resistance. Not that it was difficult, but you can definitely feel your arm going through something. And it's cool because, I read other stories of people after my experience saying that they felt the same thing. And number three, flying. Seriously, flying has to be one of the coolest things you can do when astral projecting. Now, I know a lot of people have flown in their dreams before, but imagine being in a fully conscious state, being fully awake, like how you are right now, and flying. Like Superman, dude, straight up, it's wild. One of the most freeing and fun experiences I've ever had. Fly around your neighborhood or to a friend's house or to a random location, and then try reading a sign or just notice something that would be impossible for you to know unless you were actually there. And then once you're back in your body, go to that place and try to verify what you saw. And I still, get a kick out of this whole flying thing. I mean, just thinking about it, where I catch myself, just chilling at times, and I'm like, I have literally flown like Superman. And I know this sounds crazy or funny to an unbeliever or to a skeptic because it sounds like I'm talking about comic book superpowers and all, but I'm not here to prove this to them. It's all good. Ultimately, the way to truly know if this is real is to what? Is to experience this for yourself. As for me, this stuff's legit. It's possible. It's real. It's fun. It's life changing. And for those of you who've experienced these things as well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the reality of this when you approach it without the fear based mindset that unfortunately a lot of people tend to have. But what's encouraging is that I have people constantly reaching out to me saying that deep down they know there's more than what their current paradigm has to offer. So, wanting to explore these realms, these mysteries beyond what we typically see with our physical eyes, it takes courage. It takes courage to go where others aren't willing to go for the sake of finding answers for yourself instead of being spoon fed by religion or by those around you. So, don't let the naysayers and the critics bring you down. Keep exploring and don't forget to have fun while you're at it too. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. If so, give it a like and a thumbs up, and please share it. And if you end up trying these things during your next astral adventures, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And also, hit that subscribe button and also the bell for new videos. And once again, don't miss my upcoming free live training on how the law of attraction really works. Just click the link in the description to register. Seats are limited. Like I always say, more's coming. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.